Meenal?
Okay, may we begin? Namaskar, Swagat, Abhinandan Barambar. Distinguished dignitaries, guests, and stalwarts from the fisheries and aquaculture ecosystem. A very warm welcome to the second edition of the Conference on Fisheries and Aquaculture, showcasing India as a hub for aquaculture and fisheries investment. This time, virtually together. Organized by CII FACE in partnership with the Department of Fisheries, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, Government of India, and support of MPDA. हम हृदय से स्वागत करते हैं गणमान्य अतिथियों का जो वर्चुअल माध्यम से जुड़ अपनी गरिमामयी उपस्थिति से इस कॉन्फ्रेंस को और भी प्रभावशाली बना रहे हैं। हार्दिक स्वागत माननीय केंद्रीय मंत्री महोदय, मत्स्य पालन, पशुपालन और डेयरी मंत्रालय श्री पुरुषोत्तम रूपाला जी का। हार्दिक स्वागत माननीय राज्य मंत्री महोदय, मत्स्य पालन, पशुपालन और डेयरी मंत्रालय डॉक्टर एल मुरुगन का। हम स्वागत करते हैं सचिव महोदय, मत्स्य पालन विभाग, मत्स्य पालन, पशुपालन और डेयरी मंत्रालय श्री जतींद्रनाथ स्वयं का। We also warmly welcome Mr. Rajnikant Rai, Chief Executive, Agribusinesses Division, ITC Limited, and Mr. Arbind Das, Co-Chairman, CII National Committee on Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, CEO, Nutrivis Global Advisory Services Private Limited. We welcome Ms. Neetu Kapoor, Executive Director, CII. महासागर की एक अमूल्य देन है हमारा अस्तित्व। अनादिकाल से मानव का साथी अपनी ओजस्वी तरंगों के दरमियान कई सुयोग संजोए। Ladies and gentlemen, in the pursuit of creating an enabling ecosystem of growth and prosperity in fisheries and aquaculture domain, this conference is a confluence of wisdom, knowledge, and passion of experts and participants spanning from across the seafood industry, state fisheries departments, fishery institutions, associations, academicians, financial institutions, as well as progressive farmers. We also extend a warm welcome to the experts from Norway, Singapore, and Japan to the conference. Our friends from media. Owing to the tremendous potential the Indian fisheries and aquaculture industry bears, the conference shall take a plunge into deliberations surfacing the potential of this sunrise sector, catalyzing production, unveiling opportunities to boost export, increasing consumption while harnessing on technology and innovation. So, to begin with, to raise the curtain and mark the inaugural of this momentous conference, may I please invite Mr. Arbind Das, Co-Chairman, CII National Committee on Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, and CEO Nutrivis Global Advisory Services Private Limited, for his opening remarks.
So Das, आप unmute करें।
Good morning.
Good morning,
Namaste. Sri Purushottam Rupala, Honorable Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, Government of India. Dr. L. Murugan, Honorable Minister of State, Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, Government of India. Mr. Jatindranath Swami, Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy. Mr. Rajnikant Rai, Chief Executive, Agribusinesses Division, ITC Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome Sri Purushottam Rupala ji, Honorable Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy. Honorable Minister, under your dynamic leadership and guidance, the sector is on the path of achieving new heights. The vision set by you for the sector encourages the industry to work along with government to realize the set targets. I welcome you, sir. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome Dr. L. Murugan, Honorable Minister of State of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. Sir, with introduction of various support mechanism at the state level through Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, the industry is confident to tap the full potential of the sector. I welcome you, sir. It is my privilege to welcome Mr. Jatindranath Swai, Secretary, Department of Fisheries. He has been gracious enough to always support the industry and guide us to align our works for the augmentation of fishermen's incomes. The industry is working closely with him on resolving challenges and creating a holistic roadmap for the fisheries and aquaculture sector, both at central and state level. We have high hope for the transformation of the sector, and we look forward to your guidance, sir, as we scale up our role in global market. Sir, it is my privilege to welcome you. I'm happy to welcome Mr. Rajnikant Rai, the Chief Executive, Agribusinesses Division, ITC Limited, and look forward to his views for scaling up the sector. I'm happy to note that today we have participation of many industry members, fishery entrepreneurs, officials from the Department of Fisheries, state fisheries departments, fishery institutes, ICAR scientists, fish feed manufacturers, MPEDA, NFDB, processors and exporters, and other concerned stakeholders from around the world. On behalf of Confederation of Indian Industry, I extend a very warm welcome to you all to this conference. Fisheries sector plays a vital role in economic and overall development of our country. The sector is considered as a sunrise sector and has immense potential for bringing equitable and inclusive growth. Besides, being the second top fish producer of the world, we are yet to harness its full potential to attain nutritional security and export earnings with our vast fisheries resources in both inland and marine sector. These sectors have huge scope of development and has huge scope of development, and we are trying to harness their potential to reality. With the creation of new Department of Fishery at the federal level in 2019, our vision and scope of the development of the sector have been broadened. With a special package announced for the sector when the pandemic hit the country with an outlay of rupees 20,050 crore for the fishery sector, encouraged the industry to keep up the pace with government focus on areas such as better standards and traceability, most important, laboratory networks, personal and boat insurance for fishermen, along with inclusion of cage culture, seaweed farming, ornamental fisheries as part of key activities, support of new modern fishing vessels, building new fishing harbors, development of post-harvest cold chain infrastructure, the key backbone of this sector, and recent declaration of PLI scheme by the Ministry of Food Processing Industries, etc., are supportive, progressive, and encouraging for the industry. Fishery and aquaculture has also been identified as one of the champion sector by the Ministry of Commerce, looking at the huge potential for export and domestic market. CII, along with the Department of Fisheries, Ministry of Food Processing Industries, Department of Commerce, MPEDA, Seafood Exporters Association, Hatchery Association, etc., is working together to achieve the target of doubling the export by 2025 and quadrupling it by 2030. I'm happy to inform you that, sir, under Champion Sector Initiative, encouraging and promoting new species and product diversification has been identified as one of the priority areas. CII, along with the Department of Fishery, Government of India, is working towards bringing the requisite investments and enablers to leverage the production and productivity across focus states in sustainable manner. Under the Scale Committee, CII is working closely with the Department of Fisheries on enablers such as ease of doing aquaculture farming, simplification of registration and renewal process of aquaculture farms, increase the production through additional unutilized brackish water land, other suitable water bodies, implementation of end-to-end traceability, preferably digital traceability for assured food safety, bringing value addition opportunity, etc., with an objective to meet the export targets. We are also in discussion with the Department of Enablement of adequate credit and working capital towards input costs and capital expenses, as well as loan under priority lending sector to the aquaculture entrepreneur, which would help increase the infrastructure, production, and thus the exports. The Department of Fishery has been very open in discussing all the constraints and challenges raised by the industry, like easing out of harm registration process, setting up NBCs, BMCs, joining up aquaculture and integrated cold chain across the supply chain. I'm very happy to say that the department is reviewing all the challenges brought out by the industry and guiding towards the solution while creating an enabling environment. The deliberations at this conference are focused on showcasing India as a hub for fisheries and aquaculture investment, as well as the key interventions needed to strengthen the fisheries and aquaculture sector. The summit will also highlight the key enablers for the investment positioning. Fishery as a livelihood provider, source of protein and its positive contribution to nutritional security and farmer income, and creating job opportunities, especially for women, the immense potential the sector has for bringing equitable and inclusive growth. We look forward to creating a roadmap with actions that needs to be implemented in coming years to improve the domestic consumption and exports, improve value addition for inland and marine fisheries, and bring technology innovations for safe and sustainable management from the deliberation of the conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. May I now please invite Mr. Rajnikant Rai, Chief Executive, Agribusinesses Division, ITC Limited, to please address the virtual audience.
Are you able to hear me? Because I'm connecting through my mobile.
Yes. Yes.
There is a problem of connectivity through internet.
We are able to hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me first start with. Good morning, sirs. Respected Sri Purushottam Rupala ji, Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Dr. L. Murugandan ji, Honorable Minister of State of Fisheries and Animal Husbandry, Dairying and Government of India, Mr. Jitendranath Sohan ji, the Secretary Department of Fisheries, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, and Mr. Arvind Das ji, Co-Chairman of CII National Committee on Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, and ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of CII as well as from my personal account, I extend my very warm welcome to all of you to this conference. We have a very small presentation which we have prepared as a input for the team to discuss here, and some suggestions related to fisheries industry. So Mitu, may I request to run the presentation there?
Presentation is on. You may proceed.
Yeah. So my presentation flow is going to be kind of global agriculture trade. What is total global agriculture trade, Indian marine trade, opportunity in to boost the exports from India, and what are the few recommendations which we are suggesting from the CII side to the industry. So actually, total global export, agri export, is around 1.66 trillion. Out of that, India is ranked 11th position with a 2.5% contribution to the global trade, having around $42 billion exports from India of this sector, agri sectors. Marine exports contributes around 14% of the total exports, and which is around 5.9 billion US dollars. This is actually growing very fast. And out of this total marine exports, shrimp is a major one, which accounts for around 74% of the total value exported. Last 4-5 years, it's growing around 7.4% CAGR. And top export destinations from India is US, China, Japan, Europe, and Southeast Asia. They are the major importing countries. If you look at it, the value ladder of the shrimp industry, the same shrimp which farmers produce, I'm talking about the same kind of count or size. If you just sell headless material, you'll get around $4.5 realization of that produce. And if you keep adding value and go up to the braided and battered products, your price can be just double. So there is a huge scope of value addition in this value chain. And this comes through multiple way of processing it, peeling, grading, cooking. So they are the multi-layer of the kind of value addition possible. India's shares in high value addition is very, very small. It's around 7% of the total exports we do value added categories. Balance is all kind of general exports. Compared to that, Thailand exports today 72% of its export as a value added category, which is operating in the range of $7 to $9 kind of price point per pound. Whereas the India average export is between 5.2 to $5.3 per pound. So this is a kind of scope available in this industry to expand the value further on this. Countries like Ecuador, last couple of years, if you see their process, they have become the number 2 exporter in the world. And they have created the very smart farming practices, which is actually very sustainable and traceable products. Last year itself, they have captured 20% of the global exports of shrimp, and they have become the number 2. And very near future, I believe in another 2 years down the line, they will take the first position, and India will become number 2, which were earlier number 1 exporter. And the kind of practice they've adopted, which not a single rejection globally they are getting in their product. Whereas compared to that in India, other countries, whether it is Malaysia, Bangladesh, Thailand, every country have some or other issues related to products. But last 2 years, Ecuador have 0 rejection of their product in the global market. So, and key markets are primarily like US, EU, China, and Japan. Consumption of high value added shrimps is continuously increasing. And the food safety standards are becoming very, very stringent. Every country revising every year their parameters of the check and controls. And what we believe that to match the global standard and global kind of value addition, what we need to do in India is build the research and technology for new kind of seed availability. In India today, the seed is the biggest challenge for the farmers. And most of the products we are importing in the country. And there is a challenge of quality of those seeds. So this is one area where we need to develop our domestic seed production with the high standard quality parameters, because that is what is creating a biggest challenge. Also, what we require is a high vertical integration, investment in testing facilities, and traceability. Today, the farms are very, very small, spread across many geography. The traceability is becoming a challenge in the industry, but globally now more and more demands are coming like a traceable products and food safe products. Focused marketing about market operation will require that there is a high tariff rates in certain countries compared to Ecuador, which have a 0 duty to US market and Europe market. Compared to that, we have the duty. which we have to pay. Also, there is a new opportunity has come up because certain country like China has to pay very high duty in US and all that. So how quickly we can capture those kind of value-added segment in that market. Another problem the industry is facing continuously of licensing. The new factories are taking 2 years to get the EU and Russian license, 6 months at least for the US license. And once there is one problem or one container or one parcel rejected anywhere in the country, reinstating the licenses is taking almost 2 years for country like Russia and almost a year for EU. So we need to understand why these problems are coming up, and the level government to government level discussions requires to increase and fast track this. Another new recently good development has happened. The PILI scheme has been launched, which is going to help the industry to become more competitive globally. But the time is left to implement this is not more than a year now from now onward. And within 1 year, the investment of 75 crores minimum and the kind of land acquisition, licensing, factory, creation of plants and machinery will take time. So my suggestion would be to this forum, kindly extend at least 1 year more for industry to implement the project. Because of COVID, it's got delayed, and a lot of companies are interested to go and invest in this. So with this few recommendation, my suggestion would be to kindly focus on that and help the industry to grow and compete global market. Another part I would like to bring it, domestic consumption is also now growing. There's a wet market which is almost 8 to 10,000 crores today of shrimp. And as we know, the shrimp is a high protein product. It can be and is better than chicken and even egg. So can be some sort of promotion on developing this category into domestic market. It will be more food safe because it's a frozen, quick frozen at the factory level compared to the wet market, where at least it takes 24 hours to finally reach to the consumer in the same kind of cold chain. Market which can grow faster because a lot of fish consumption happens in the country. So we require to build the infrastructure also to increase awareness of the consumer minds as well as the producer, the antibiotic-free produce, because this is actually globally becoming a minimum norms for any products to be consumed, whether ready to cook or ready to eat. Cold chain is the biggest challenge, and not at the producing level, but at the market level. It's the biggest hindrance today to develop the frozen and processed product in the domestic market. So if there can be some support at the market level, some kind of cold chain which can be shared by the many players who are the branded or the kind of frozen category sellers in the market, that can be also fast track the local consumption. And value terms also, it is a very good price equation compared to the fresh one. After peeling, processing, freezing, and if you compare the net yield and the cost, it is very, very sustainable pricing practices. So these are the few suggestions. Also, if at the station, railway station, if you can build some cold chain for the storage there and movement from like a dairy which has been started, moving from Gujarat to other part of the country in the cold chain wagons, can we have some sort of the railway station level storage point from where it can move to refrigerated trains to other part of the country from south to north, because it's produced across the coast and get consumed across the country. So these are the few suggestions we like to put front of this August Minister sir, and kindly look into this, and this can become a very good kind of income for farmers and Indian agriculture sectors and allied sectors. With these few suggestions and the request, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to share our thoughts as an industry and the CIA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I now please request Mr. Jatindranath Swain, Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, to please address us.
Thank you very much. Honorable Union Minister for Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Sri Purushottam Rupalaji. Honorable Minister of State, Animal Husbandry and Dairying and Fisheries, Dr. L. Muruganji. Co-Chairman CI National Committee, Mr. Arvind Das. Chief Executive Agribusiness Division, Mr. Rajnikant Rai. And fishers, farmers who have joined this conference, industry representatives, officers, scientists, and other stakeholders. And ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to all of you. First of all, I wish to thank CIA for organizing this conference. We really wanted this in a physical form, but because of the extraordinary situation that is prevailing in this country and globally, we are in a virtual form. Sometimes this is better because we are able to connect to more people. So once again, I thank CIA for organizing this. This was a very much needed event in the course of development of fisheries and aquaculture. As all of us know, fisheries and marine sector play a very essential role in human welfare and social and economic development worldwide. And this is vital for people living in coastal communities, providing livelihood and income. As is the scenario in the global context, fishery sector in India is a very important activity with varied resources and potential. It is possibly one of the oldest production segment and possibly older than agriculture, because before the mankind learned to collect seed and put it in the ground for the crop to come up, they were catching fish and they're also hunting animals. So this is a very old, one of the oldest professions and occupations worldwide, and is very significant in providing nutrition security and employment to more than 14 million people in this country. The country has a lot of natural advantage as far as fishery is concerned. We have a very long coastline, a very huge EEZ from where we can catch our fish. We have a lot of inland water resources, rivers, reservoirs, ponds and lakes, and huge amount of diversity. More than 10% of global biodiversity in terms of fish and shellfish species are available here. As such, in last 10 to 15 years, we have grown tremendously in terms of production in fisheries and aquaculture. And we have grown from 4 million tons in 91-92 to 14.2 million tons in 2019-20. While we gloat over this kind of growth, there are two things that come to my mind. One is the target set that we have to get somewhere near 22 million tons in next 4 or 5 years. That's one. And second, given the size of this country and given the population, given the potential, as Mr. Rai already put up, we are much behind in terms of exports and actual production and consumption. With over 2.4 lakh fishing crafts operating along the coast, and we have 7 major fishing harbors, 75 minor fishing harbors, and 1,500 fish landing centers, we catch about 4 million tons of marine catch, and nearly 10 million tons are coming from the inland and aquaculture. Aquaculture is the major production, and as we see the trend, it will continue to grow over the years in an exponential manner. Indian fish market is projected to reach a level of 2,100 billion rupees, Indian rupees, by 2025, with an estimated growth rate of about 10%. The exports, we are a fairly big export size. We do about 50,000 crores. We export about 50,000 crores. Most of them come from shrimps, as Mr. Rai has told. And we target to reach about 1 lakh crores in next 3-4 years. And this will require a lot of hard work. I expect that this conference will, as Mr. Rai has already pointed out, will throw up a lot of ideas, opportunities, and roadmap to achieve this. To continue the growth in the marine sector and to achieve the full potential, all the stakeholders need to come together and focus on the key drivers of growth. It is very, very important to look at the market trend, market demand of species, fishing practices, fishing efforts, the infrastructure required, technology upgradation for current fishing vessels, safety and security of the fishermen in the unlikely event of weather. Along the supply chain, as Mr. Rai has already pointed out, the ensuring a steady supply of quality seed, feed is very, very important. There is a need for adoption of new and improved farming technologies. There is a need to adopt the right cold chain and associated infrastructure, and also to ensure that we adhere to the emerging global standards. As we all know, some of our consignments get rejected and this affects our exports. Even the domestic market is increasingly becoming very, very quality conscious about the kind of food they eat. So unless we improve the standards, the compliance standards of the aquaculture sector, it will be very difficult to have that kind of growth which we have been seeing for last 10 years, somewhere around 10%. It will be difficult to maintain this kind of growth unless we adopt such practices. The department is already is at it. MPDA is a key driver as far as the export market is concerned. Regarding the use of antibiotics, recently we are continuously sensitizing the state governments, because the drug controllers there will have to take that action. We have recently also written to all the chief secretaries to review this with a lot of seriousness and ensure that the use of antibiotics is controlled. We are also looking at improving the interlinkages between the producers, the market, the processors, and the input suppliers like seed and feed. We have created institutions in the past. We started with fish farmer development agencies and brackish water fish farmer development agencies. Then we had the ICR institutions who used to do the R&D. They have been interlinked. Going forward, we had the Blue Revolution scheme, which was one of the most integrated schemes to come in this sector. Carrying forward the gains of the Blue Revolution scheme, because a lot of new technologies were thrown upon and got adopted in the field, the government has launched the biggest ever scheme in the aquaculture, fisheries and aquaculture sector, namely Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. This was announced as a flagship scheme in 2020 under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, and for focused, this scheme is basically for focused and sustained development of the fisheries sector in the country, with an estimated investment of 20,050 crores. Here the assistance given by the government of India alone is about 9,400 crores. About 5,000 crores are coming from the states and rest from the private sector. And this is to be implemented over 5 years, from 2021 to 24-25. We have already seen about 1.5 years of its implementation, despite the pandemic that is still raging, and creating disruptions in the economic activities. We have seen a lot of facilities, a lot of grow out ponds, a lot of raceways, a lot of ice plants, marketing infrastructure coming up during this time, and we'll see its result in the coming days. The government has also taken up a phased program for modernizing the infrastructure in the fishing harbors, recognizing that a lot of value is lost because of the poor conditions of the harbors and the landing centers. Government has already taken up, announced in the last budget 5 major fishing harbors, which is Kochi, Chennai, Visakhapatnam, Paradip, and Pettiwaghat in Kolkata, for modernization with modern facilities which will reduce the wastage, which will improve the quality of the fish during the handling time, during the auction time, and by that it will also add value to what the fishermen produce and improve its exportability. Government is committed to improve more such harbors and landing centers, about 30 to 40 harbors and about 100 landing centers will be improved. And we are also looking at, with a lot of interest, and the PPP model, DBFOT model, that is design, build, finance, operate, and transfer models in this kind of infrastructure, which will bring in a lot of investment with the amount that is earmarked. Currently, it is done as fully funded by the public investment. We are looking with a lot of interest. We are looking at these models, and we will be shortly coming out with necessary bids either from the central side or through the states. We are also looking at development of infrastructure such as hatcheries, brood multiplication centers, BMCs, and NBCs, markets, and cold chain. Also in the PPP mode, we are creating documents and we will be coming out with the guidelines, necessary guidelines. Apart from the current model of giving a subsidy or announcing the subsidy and asking the private sector to come through a selection process by the respective state or union territory administrations, we'll also think of creating a VGF VGF-based model, which has been so successful in the renewable energy sector, and we expect that to that kind of participation here. I will be requesting all the industry representatives to come and give their views on how to go forward on this, because this will channelize a lot of investment. We see that the investment, especially the private sector investment in last 3-4 years, have been quite tepid, and though the stock markets are booming, is primarily portfolio investment and not much of investment is, though the many companies are, the big companies are flush with money, but investment is not coming up. So we feel that with this kind of bidding, which has opened up the renewable energy sector, we think that it will also take up open up the aquaculture sector into a larger amount of investment, and by this also improve the value chain. We need, as Mr. Rai told, apart from concentrating on the exports and try to emulate what Ecuador has done, we should also look at the domestic market. Traditionally, we have been always looking at domestic market is something kind of a subsistence market. Some fisherman catches fish or some fish farmer grows fish. It is taken, it is packed in ice, in layers of ice, and then sold in the market in most unhygienic condition. One reason why the fish consumption has been low, one thing is the lower consumption area, the areas where the consumption is low are the areas which are situated away from the fish production areas. And the basic reason, to my mind, is that people are not very sure the fish that is coming to them over a long distance, whether it is good or not. We still have a habit of going to the market, checking for quality, and that's why we like the fresh fish or the chilled fish. We don't take frozen fish. So the worldwide, the biggest chunk of the fish that is being traded, that is being sold, are the frozen fish. We don't have. So here I would request the private sector to come up with appropriate protocols so that the people believe that the frozen fish is as good as fresh. That will only open up the domestic market, and with a population size of 140 crores, our market is much bigger than whatever the export market can provide us. This is something we should look at in interest, and I will request all the industry reps here to mull over this issue and to find out ways how to open up this market. We have already instituted a study by National Council for Applied Economic Research, NCAR, to study do a very comprehensive study on the domestic demand on fish, and they will come up with their findings. We expect that it will help us to formulate the strategies for opening up the domestic market. So finally, then another thing I wanted to tell here, it's not about fish, but something related to the aquatic plant, which is seaweed. We are giving a lot of stress on seaweed development, and there is a lot of use of seaweed, but the market is very, very segmented. We need to create sufficient demand. Simply by telling our fishermen to grow seaweed will not be enough, because the market has to come up, just like the sugar sector or any other sector, the assured marketing. So I would request the industry reps who are here to try to create a very, very steady market for seaweed globally. The major portion of seaweed goes for human consumption. Unfortunately, we don't produce that kind of seaweed which goes for human consumption, but seaweed has a lot of use into the animal feed and the fish feed industry globally. But somehow in India, this has not been tried out. If this is found, even 5% of the component, 5% of the fish feed, which is accounted for by seaweed, then we will see a quantum jump in the seaweed production from the current levels of some 5,000 to 6,000 tons to more than 1 million tons or beyond within 2-3 years, because the fish feed industry, the animal feed industry is already here. And globally they are using, but somehow we are not using. Primarily, maybe we don't have the lack of, we don't have that kind of seaweed availability here. However, if the industry keeps talking about that, and they are ready to take seaweed, they find a formula, we can definitely motivate the fishermen. Actually, they will not wait for us. They will themselves, if the market is available, they will themselves set up seaweed production units in the oceans. So finally, I request that I request all the stakeholders to develop on the various aspects that can take our aquaculture industry forward and provide a lot of employment opportunity to the people. We know that the people who are in aquaculture industry, the primary producers are small producers, whether they are fishermen or whether they are the farmers. They need to be supported. If the country has to grow, there has to be stability, and that requires that a lot of people get employment. The industry has to look at that and make this aquaculturists and make these fishers as a partners rather than just suppliers of some raw materials whom we can ditch whenever we want. So this is something I would request the industry to look at these people as their partners and to be partners both in the times of success and both in the difficult times. Finally, I request the industry, the fishermen, the exporters, processors, all other stakeholders to work collaboratively towards creating India's hub of fisheries and aquaculture with continuous focus on diversification, system improvement, technology improvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your pertinent and noteworthy address. May I now please request the guest of honor, Dr. L. Murugan, Honorable Minister of State, Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, to kindly address us.
Conference on Fisheries and Aquaculture, showcasing India as a hub for agriculture, aquaculture and fisheries investment. In this program, the chief guest, Sri Purushottam Rupalaji, Honorable Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Secretary of Fisheries Department, Sri J.N. Swanji, Joint Secretary Sri Sagar Mehraji, Co-Chairman of CII National Committee on Fisheries, Sri Arvind Dasji, Chief Executive ITC Agri Division, Sri Rajinikanth Roy, other senior officers, delegates, respected dignitaries, guests, stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to you all. At the beginning, I compliment the CII for this excellent initiative. Today, Indian fisheries accounts for 8% of global share in fish production. Development of Indian fisheries is going to give a great boost for development of Indian economy. Investments are made in this sector will go a long way to take Indian fisheries to a great heights. Our government has been consistently working in this direction since 2014. Development of fisheries and welfare of our fishermen is our core objective. Under the visionary leadership of our beloved Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji, India has made great strides in fisheries in this last 7 years. Our government has made investment in fisheries many times bigger than the investment made till 2014. Schemes like Blue Revolution, Fisheries Infrastructure Development Fund have been brought in to unlock the tremendous potential of this sector. To make our efforts more focused, a separate department of fisheries has been formed in 2019 under the visionary leader, under the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. Friends, our Prime Minister's message to all of us is under Atmanirbhar Bharat. Under Atmanirbhar Bharat, in this sector, rupees 20,000 crore scheme, its name called Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, has been launched in the year 2020. It aims, among others, to develop other fisheries sustainability, to improve the lives of our fishermen and to leverage the spirit of entrepreneurship in our stakeholders. The implementation of PMMSY calls a great range of activities. Friends, it is development of aquaculture and fishery related infrastructure, fish processing plants and fish product units, fish meal and fish seed developments, marine rangings and river rangings, marine and inland river landing centers are developing of fishing ports and jetties, seaweed parks and ornamental fisheries. And also we are developing cold storages and ice plants, fish tourism and aqua sports development also under the PMMSY. The PMMSY is giving a wide on fishery financiers and insurance products also. Our entrepreneurs, our processors, our exporters, the financier and bankers, all our stakeholders will find tremendous scope and opportunities in this sector in the last few years. The investment, and I strongly believe that the returns of the investment too will be the huge in this sector. Friends, our aim to increase our fish production to 220 lakh tons by 2025 from 140 tons at present. And this can be achieved through both marine fisheries as well as inland fisheries and aquaculture. Use of the deep sea vessels, modern and efficient fishing techniques, chain of seamless cold chains, cold storage facilities, ice plants, fish processing units, fish product units, and many other have been emphasized here. The last 7 years, the share of inland fisheries and aquaculture in the total fish production is rising. More than 70% of total fish comes from inland fisheries and aquaculture. India is globally ranked number 2 in aquaculture production and ranked first in shrimp production and exports. Use of modern technology along with raising entrepreneurs spirit of our young is showing the results. We will take it further ahead. New areas like saline and brisk waters, reservoirs, floodplains are being put of productivity aquaculture use. Wasteland will be converted into wealth lands. Fisheries, infrastructure, landing centers, river ranching, fish seedings are being developed in our rivers like Ganga, Brahmaputra and others. Cold water fisheries, trout brooding centers and hatcheries in Himalayan states and northeastern states are being developed. While we aim to increase the production under the PMMSY, equally focused to increase per hectare productivity also. Optimal utilization, more craft, more drop in our mantra. Technology infusion is the cue. Young entrepreneurs are coming forward to set up recirculatory aquaculture system and bioflake units. This is in line with the spirit of Startup India, as envisaged by our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji. In the last week, we launched Fishery Startup Grand Challenges 2021 under the leadership and guidance of our Minister Sri Purushottam Rupala ji. I urge you all and throw you the youth of our country to participate in this challenge and come up with the solutions and products to make it a grand success. Dear friends, all the production and productivity increases, we need to look for market expansion. PMMSY aims to take our exports to rupees 1 lakh crore. This brings tremendous scope to our present and potential exports. Already our Secretary Sri Swainji mentioned that how we are developing and how we are modernizing the fishing harbors. Last year, this current budget, we are developing Cochin, Chennai, Visakhapatnam, Paradip, and Patwagad. It's an international standard and modern fishing harbors we are going to set up in this. And as well as the scope in the seaweed. The first time in the country, our Prime Minister announced the integrated seaweed park in this nation. Especially the seaweed park is going to set up in Tamil Nadu. It gives employment and self-empowerment, economically empowerment to the fisher women. Already our Secretary mentioned we are not giving for the seaweed cultivation, and also we are providing market facilities to the seaweed cultivation. You see the already the scope in the Andaman, Lakshadweep, the seaweed scope is also there. We are all working in this. I call for the entrepreneurs to come forward to this seaweed sector. It is an emerging sector. It is contributing to the agriculture and nutrition for the animal husbandries also. We are going to this. And friends, the development of quality, hygiene, freshness, environmental friendly practice, our strength, create and build brand India. Such factors are iconic spices, promote and popularize fish cuisines and fish recipes, its nutritional benefits. Make best use of social media and other platforms to popularize this, create and nurture new markets, follow the path of vocal for local to global. I firmly believe that you all can play an active role here. The role of the states, banks, insurance companies, and FFPOs is also very crucial. Finally, I must mention that welfare of our fishermen is the core of our focus. Hence, while we all aspire to take Indian fisheries a new heights under our Minister, our Sri Rupalaji's dream to every fisherman has to get Kisan credit card facilities. That is also our department is working, and we are going to achieve, increase their income, improve their working conditions, safety and welfare, and increase their entrepreneurship ability and opportunities. And that's why I commend CAI for this conference today. I'm told that a wide range of topics will be discussed in this conference. I'm sure that many workable solutions will come out from this brainstorming. I wish this event a grand success. Together we will, as our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's vision, it's a sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka viswas, and sabka prayas that will lead us to reach our goal. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you very much, sir, for your astute and sagacious address. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to now invite the esteemed chief guest, Honorable Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Shri Purushottam Rupala, to kindly deliver the keynote address.
नमस्कार, सभी को मेरा राम राम. I am audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
हाँ जी, we can hear you.
नमस्कार, नमस्कार. आज के बहुत ही इस महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर CII द्वारा जो वर्चुअल आयोजन किया गया है, उसमें हमारे साथ हमारे साथी मंत्री डॉक्टर एल मुरुगन जी, हमारे सचिव महोदय श्रीमान जतेंद्र नाथ स्वैन जी, हमारे दोनों संयुक्त सचिव सागर जी और बालाजी, ICI के श्री अरविंद दास जी, श्री रजनीकांत राय जी ITC से, और सभी हमारे स्टेक होल्डर्स, प्रोसेसर्स, बिजनेसमैन, एक्सपोर्टर्स और फिशरमैन और सभी साथियों को मेरा सादर नमस्कार एवं राम राम. आप सभी का मैं धन्यवाद करता हूं और CII को बधाई देता हूं कि इस बहुत ही सुसमय पर इस प्रकार के कार्यक्रम को ऑर्गेनाइज करते हुए सभी स्टेक होल्डरों के द्वारा ये उभरते हुए और संभावनाओं से भरे पड़े इस क्षेत्र पे अपनी परामर्श देने का बहुत सुंदर आयोजन किया. इसमें श्रीमान रजनीकांत राय जी ने और हमारे स्वैन साहब ने बहुत ही विस्तार से अपनी बातें रखी हैं. मुरुगन जी ने हमारे डिपार्टमेंट के सामने जो लक्ष्य है उस पर नज़र बनाते हुए कैसे हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं और युवा एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को कैसे लागू करना है आगे बढ़ाने के लिए, तो इन सभी विषयों पे और प्रकाश समय न लेते हुए, जब इतने महत्वपूर्ण लोग आज पूरा दिन डेलिब्रेशन करने वाले हैं और इतना विविधतापूर्ण आयोजन जो CII ने किया है, इसके लिए मैं इनको धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं और सभी स्टेक होल्डरों से नम्र अनुरोध करना चाहता हूं कि आप सभी लोग इस कार्यक्रम के आगे जो सेशन चलने वाले हैं उसमें पूर्ण मनोभाव से आप सब हिस्सा लेंगे और उस पर अपनी खुलकर सारी बातें रखने का प्रयास करना चाहिए. मैं आप सबको बधाई देना चाहता हूं कि इसमें आपके पास जो 3 या 4 सेशन हैं वो इतने साइंटिफिक वे में तय किए गए हैं. इसके लिए मैं CIA को और इनके आयोजन में और किसी ने जो परामर्श दिया हो उन सभी को बधाई देना चाहता हूं। पहला सेशन है इनका पोस्ट हार्वेस्ट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का, जिन पर जो चर्चा हो रही थी कि हमारा कहाँ लेक्यूना चल रहा है, कैसे हमारा एक्सपोर्ट में हमारे को बाधाएं आ रही है। और शायद राय साहब बता रहे थे कि इक्वाडोर का एक भी मार्केट में रिजेक्शन नहीं हो रहा है दो साल से। तो ये सारा टेक्नोलॉजी का और पोस्ट हार्वेस्टिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में हमें क्या करना चाहिए, क्या करने की तुरंत आवश्यकता है, क्या शॉर्ट टर्म करने की आवश्यकता है, क्या लॉन्ग टर्म करने की आवश्यकता है, और उसमें भी इन्वेस्टमेंट किस तरीके से आएगा, कहाँ से आएगा, क्या संभावनाएं हैं। इन सारे विषयों पर मिस्टर पंकज मेहता जैसे बहुत ही अनुभवी लोग और कई इसमें पैनल में बहुत महत्वपूर्ण लोगों का उपस्थित रहना है, तो सभी मनोयोग से इस कार्यक्रम के साथ जुड़ेंगे, ऐसा मेरा एक नम्र अनुरोध है। इंस्टीट्यूशनल फाइनेंस एंड क्रेडिट टू फिशरीज सेक्टर कितना महत्वपूर्ण विषय रखा गया है और जिस पर बहुत ही तरीके से बात करने की भी आवश्यकता है, और हमारे विभाग के अधिकारियों को भी इस पर बारीकी से नजर रखनी चाहिए। और इन विषयों में से जो डेलिब्रेशन आएगा वो इस एरिया के लिए और हम जो प्लानिंग कर रहे हैं उसी पर आगे का रास्ता तय करने में बहुत ही सहयोग हमको मिल सकता है। और नाबार्ड के चेयरमैन आदरणीय चिंताला जी इस पर अपना विषय रखने वाले हैं, ये हमारा बहुत ही सौभाग्य है। उन सभी लोगों के लिए बहुत उत्साहवर्धक विषय है। टेक्नोलॉजी और इनोवेशंस जिनकी बहुत ही आवश्यकता है, क्योंकि वैसे भी हमारा लक्ष्य जो है हमारे सामने उसमें सबसे महत्वपूर्ण लक्ष्य है अपनी प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाना। जो अभी 3 टन है पर हेक्टेयर उसको बढ़ाकर 5 टन प्रति हेक्टेयर करने का हमारा लक्ष्य है, मतलब वो भी दुगुने जैसा ही लक्ष्य है। तो उसी में टेक्नोलॉजी क्या कर सकती है। सो प्रोडक्शन एंड प्रोडक्टिविटी को बढ़ाने में ये भी एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण सेशन होने वाला है, जिसमें डॉक्टर डी रमेश कुमार ऐसे अनुभवी आपको मॉडरेटर और वर्ल्ड फिश के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव आपको उसमें पैनल डिस्कशन के लिए मिल रहे हैं। और हमारे ICR के डॉक्टर CN रविशंकर हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट के हेड हैं, वो भी इसमें हिस्सा लेने वाले हैं। तो बहुत ही अच्छा एक प्रकार से ये सुझाव होगा। और अंतिम सेशन जो है उसमें FAO के लोग आपको मिल रहे हैं और इसी के जरिए वैल्यू एडिशन के लिए वो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पे क्या हो रहा है और हमें क्या करना चाहिए, इस पर बहुत गरिमापूर्ण चर्चा आज होने की संभावना है। तो इस प्रकार का बहुत ही वैज्ञानिक तरीके से आज के इस आयोजन को आप लोगों ने गाइड किया है, इसके लिए मैं CIA के सभी कार्यकर्ताओं को, अरविंद दास के सहित उनकी पूरी टीम को बधाई देना चाहता हूं, धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं। हमारे सचिव महोदय और हमारे जितने भी सीनियर ऑफिसर्स आज इसमें हिस्सा ले रहे हैं, मैं चाहूंगा कि आप सब इस सेलिब्रेशन को पूरे दिन पे जिनको सुविधा है उनको उसमें उपस्थित रहने का प्रयास करना चाहिए और सभी का संकलित सार जो हो उनको लेकर बाद में हम भी अपनी एक छोटी टोली के साथ सब बैठकर इस पर अलग से डिस्कशन करना चाहेंगे, जिससे कि आगे के लिए हम समय गवाए बिना रास्ता तय करने का काम कर सके। आज के इस सुअवसर पर जैसे मैंने बताया कि हमारे सामने ये उत्पादकता बढ़ानी है और स्वयं जी ने बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से बताया कि हम जैसे जितना एक्सपोर्ट पे बल दे रहे हैं उतना ही डोमेस्टिक मार्केट पर भी हमें रिसर्च करने की जरूरत है। सबसे ज्यादा खपत हमारे यहाँ ही हो सकती है और वो बहुत ही साइंटिफिक बिंदु भी उन्होंने निकाला है कि फ्रेश फिश और फ्रोजन फिश उसके बारे में लोगों के मन में क्या है, उसको सही तरीके से उनके प्रोटोकॉल को एस्टैब्लिश करके वो लोगों के सामने उजागर करके उसके बारे में थोड़ा साइंटिफिक वे में मार्केटिंग को बढ़ाने के लिए भी हमें कुछ कदम उठाने की आवश्यकता है। और एक्सपोर्ट को भी बढ़ोतरी देने के लिए तो हमारे पास जो भी है सुझाव उनको हमें बहुत तीव्रता से लागू करने का हम प्रयास करना चाहिए और अपना पोस्ट हार्वेस्टिंग टेक्नोलॉजी को लागू करने से अपना वेस्टेज जो हो रहा है उनको कम करने का हमें प्रयास करना चाहिए। और आगे की संभावनाएं जो है विश्व की और विश्व में हमारा जो हिस्सा है उसी में हम कितना और भी जगह पा सकते हैं ज़्यादा, उसी पर हमें फोकस करना चाहिए। आज के इस अवसर पर इस कार्यक्रम को मैं पूर्ण सफलता के लिए शुभकामनाएं देता हूं और आगे के इस सारे सेशनों में आप सब पूर्ण मनोभाव से सम्मिलित होकर पूरा सुआयोजित डेलिबरेशन भारत सरकार के सामने लाने का प्रयास करेंगे। इन्हीं शुभकामनाओं के साथ आप सभी को तहे दिल से मेरा धन्यवाद करते हुए आप सभी को मेरा राम राम।
माननीय महोदय, अपने बेजोड़ अनुभवों और ओजस्वी विचारों के ताने बाने से इस वर्चुअल सभा को प्रज्वलित करने हेतु आपका सादर आभार व्यक्त करते हैं। With this, ladies and gentlemen, may I please request Ms. Neetu Kapoor, Executive Director, CII, to kindly propose a vote of thanks.
माननीय केंद्रीय मंत्री महोदय श्री रूपाला जी, मैं आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ कि आपने अपने व्यस्त कार्यक्रम से महत्वपूर्ण विचार विमर्श करने के लिए समय निकाला। और मैं आपको आश्वासन दिलाती हूँ कि जो भी आपने बिंदु रखे हैं और जो भी 4 सेशंस में से निकलेगा, हम ये सारी रिकमेंडेशंस मिनिस्ट्री के पास वापस लेके आएंगे एंड आपकी गाइडेंस, सेक्रेटरी सर और MOS सर की गाइडेंस से इस पे काम करेंगे। ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर श्री मुरुगन, आपने भी बहुत क्लियर डायरेक्शंस दी हैं आज। CII will work closely with Department of Fisheries, encouraging youth to look at technology solutions and opportunities such as seaweed, which are also emerging and very important. Thank you very much, sir. Secretary sir, we have noted your guidance on standards, protocols, judicious use of antibiotics, renewable energy, and integrated supply chains to work in partnership mode with fishermen. And we assure you that industry will work on this in mission mode to catalyze investment to boost domestic consumption and exports. I also wanted to make a special mention to thank Joint Secretary Sagar Mehra ji, who has been a guiding force in shaping this conference, and Dr. Balaji, who has continued to support all our efforts in these areas. Again, thank you to all esteemed officials who have joined us for this session. And on behalf of CII, I reiterate our commitment to work towards the development of this sector and our fishermen. Thank you very much. Dhanyawad.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, distinguished dignitaries and guests. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we conclude the opening session. We shall now begin with the technical session, steering diverse topics, commencing with a session on advances in post-harvest infrastructure and processing. Kindly